Good morning and welcome to Get in Line with me, Lauren Scott. Guys, I am so excited this morning to have the beautiful Kate Whitney on my podcast. Welcome to the pod, Whitney. Kate.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. So the way that I met you was actually through TikTok. I followed you because you do readings on TikTok and you had done a special and I was like, hey, your dailies are always right on with me, which is kind of hard to find when, reading for readers is always a tough thing. So I had clicked on it on one of your specials and you did a reading for me that said, basically, write the book, which I've been going back and forth with 7 years. And I'm like, she's a winner. So I asked you to be on the podcast and you were just putting out your new podcast. So it aligned perfectly. I'm so excited to have you here. And then I bought your book, Angel Magic. So let's start at the beginning. Let's start with your socials and shout it out where people can find you, Kate.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, so you can find me on Kate Whitney Author, Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. But I guess the easiest way to get all my links is katewhitneyofficial.com. That connects you to my podcast, my books. I write a blog. You can find out how to get a reading. So, and of course, all my socials are on there. So katewhitneyofficial.com is the best way to connect with me.
And I'll make sure to put that in all of our linkings too, so people can connect with you, because if you want a great reading, she is the person to go to. All right, well, let's start from the beginning. How did you start with your book, Angel Magic, and how did you get into spirituality?
So if you've read my book, you know that's a long story, but I guess in a nutshell, I grew up in a strict Christian household, and, going to church as a kid, I always felt like I was never comfortable in church. I love the community aspect of it, but the fear, even as a young child, 4 or 5, I felt like I was being lied to, and I don't even know how to say it in a more polite way, but it just didn't resonate with me. And then I fast forward, I met my husband it was 2012, and he had just gotten out of the Army, and we both moved back to our hometown at the same time, connected, and him and he was raised the same way I was. We're like, let's explore together. So we started with Buddhism, and we just studied everything. And I realized quickly that, I just take what I need from everything. And I realized I don't really need to label myself with a specific religion. I realized that that's just called spirituality, having your own beliefs and taking your truth from everything you need from everything. So, with that being said, my husband and I, we have 4 children, and we, at the time, were living in an old farmhouse in northern Michigan, and my son had just been born, and right after he was born, I was recovering from a cesarean, and I noticed negative vibes in the house. And I'm not talking just little things here and there. He had colic, so he wouldn't sleep. So I'd be up at night, and I felt this presence behind me. Like I envisioned an old man, angry, breathing down at my neck. And I was so afraid, and there was so much going on. My son would see things, my other son. So I brought a medium in, a local medium. He's amazing. So I brought him in, and everywhere that he picked up on a spirit, I had picked up on as well. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. That's exactly where I felt it, in specific areas of my house. And as he was going through cleansing my house, he was saying a prayer to Archangel Michael. I'm like, wait, you're praying to Archangel Michael? He said, yeah, I work with Archangel Michael for healing. And that was a moment for me that everything changed. I'm like, wow, angels are real? What? And right after he left the house, I went to Amazon and I just started buying books, and started with Doreen Virtue, which, she denounced all of her work. That's all a whole story, but I love her writing style and how simple it was. So I really learned a lot. I own all of her books. I just loved her writing style. So that's how I learned about angels. And that also got me into fairies. And I realized that I also have a strong connection with fairies and the elemental realms as well. So, that's where my studying started. And then right after my brother passed away, and the timing was just crazy. My brother passed away the following fall, and I realized, I can't accept that I'll never see or talk to him again. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to develop my mediumship skills because I knew I had abilities. I believe that everyone does.
Oh,
You just
yes,
have to work
absolutely.
to awaken them. So that's what I did, and that really got me through the loss, losing him, and it's brought a lot of comfort and peace to my family members that are open to it. And that is where everything started. And from there, I did a lot. It brought up a lot of healing from my past, my childhood trauma. I endured sexual abuse,
Mm-hmm.
all throughout when I was 13. So age 4 to 13.
Wow.
So a lot of trauma came up. So I did, it like fast tracked my healing, but
Yeah.
I also, I just developed this relationship with the angels, and that's where it started. Was just, honestly, it was my fear and my pain is what awakened it, and I took that and turned it into angel magic.
Well, I just absolutely love it. And I love that in the book, you really discuss all of the elements. I think me and you were talking about this before we started recording, but the term witchcraft, or all of the terms and labels that go with it, tend to make things a little bit more scarier or a little bit more taboo
Yes.
than it really actually is. Because when you go back to the core subject of everything that we do, it's elemental.
Right.
So I absolutely loved that in the book you did kind of the basics of elemental. I'm actually going to try not to copy you, girl, with what I'm trying to do. But I like love how you made it in simplified versions to where anybody, no matter what level you are, took something from your book. I think that is incredible because it reading it and getting some of the devotionals that you did with the angels and some of the prayers and just how you aligned it has helped me dive more into working with more archangels than just the 3 or 4 that I usually work with. So thank you for that, because there's so much out there. And I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not always easy for the reader who might not have anything to do with it or who might be doing this for years. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
And I really thought that both of your books were just amazing with bringing it all together. Really, Kate, like
Yeah. Well,
beautifully written.
I'm a woman of, I'm not very good with words. I never have been, but I knew at a young age that I wanted to write a book.
Mm-hmm.
I should have mentioned this in my story. When I was a kid, I wrote a list of, and this was when I was going through a really difficult time. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and I saw everything around me was so dark and toxic. And I'm like, this is everything that I don't want to be. So I wrote a list of what I needed to be the woman I wanted to be and the mother and everything. And I found it right after Angel Magic was published. I forgot that I wrote down that I wanted to write books. And I struggled through school.
Manifesting at a young age, my
I
dear.
did. And I struggled through school even to get through English. And then I realized that, you don't have to create something, you don't have to be the master of everything. We're all learning all the time. It never ends. And I'm like, you know what? I have something I need to share. And if I make it simple, because that's how I am. I love simplicity because I think that that's where magic is. It's in everything that's simple, in the mundane. And that is why Angel Magic is so easy for anyone to read, because I needed that myself. I needed basics, nothing crazy. We're all the magic. We are the magic. We have it all within. So you don't need anything fancy. You don't need tools. You don't even need labels. It's just a practice.
Absolutely. And hence the reason why I love your podcast title, Mindful Magic.
Yes.
It's really going into that mindful aspect. When y'all started that, was that the reason why y'all chose that title?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Marie and I are all about, we always have a lot going on. I have 4 kids, a husband. I do a lot of other things. I illustrate children's books, and I have to have a simple spiritual practice that just is intertwined in my day. Everything that I do, whether it be cleaning, talking to my children, getting dressed, I wanted to teach people that you don't need to set aside an hour or 2 hours every day to practice your spiritual path. You don't need that.
Amen. Nor does it need
So
to be so ritualistic all the time.
no, it doesn't.
Like,
And because
or
life,
the
yeah,
most expensive things that you need to use. You can use it out of just the simplicity of it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I'm the exact same way. I love everything just easygoing, something I can make into my day. And, you don't realize that you make all of these things, a habit. You know what I mean? Like you
right.
start doing it and before you know it, your whole day's in a mindful magic routine because that is you're aligning your brain waves to more of
Yeah,
a mindful positivity.
exactly.
And
You're reprogramming your brain.
absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your podcast as well.
Marie and I, she's my soul sister. We met. She auditioned to narrate? Yeah,
Yeah.
to narrate Angel Magic on Audible. And I just knew right when I met her, she's like, I really want to narrate your book. I love it. And I know we need to work together. And I just knew it too. It was just weird. It was like love at first sight
Mm-hmm.
at first read. But, anyways, so her and we decided that after we did Angel Magic, we realized how much we have in common.
Mm-hmm.
So we together, like, we should do a podcast because Marie has a background in, she's an NCIS Hawaii. She does like the background acting and she does the voiceover. So we complement each other well. She
Yeah.
knows how to do things I don't. And we have, we're different at the same time too. So we have different perspectives. So she does a lot of the spell work and rituals more as a traditional witch would. And I'm more, although she's she's open as well, and I'm more of the mundane, finding the magic in each moment, and then we kind of mesh them together. And it's so much fun. So our mission is just to inspire others to see the magic and the beauty in every moment.
Well, you're definitely doing that. I just listened to one of your episodes right before we got on, the very first November one, and really, really enjoyed it. I loved how y'all were talking about the different herbs and flowers and everything that you could do. I just love the vibe. I'm so happy that you got onto mine. And now you mentioned you did kids books. Let's touch on that because I know I have a lot of listeners that have kids and, fairy magic, I think is something that people, at least I see it on TikTok, are so scared of.
Right. And I don't know why.
I don't either.
In America, when you say that you believe in fairies, it's like taboo. But if you were to go to like Ireland and Scotland, that's normal.
Yeah.
So for me, the angels brought me to the fairies, and the fairies are so much fun to work with, and they really help you tune into that vibration of gratitude, of joy, of love, of that childlike fun and goofiness, which is essential in manifesting and healing. It also helps you with parenting as well. So anyways, with my love of fairies, and I've never had a negative experience with fairies ever. Although I do believe that you get what you put out. So if you expect fear, you're going to attract like negative energy. So I do think that.
Thank you for saying that because that is that's true.
And I raise my children that fairies are real, and they're absolutely real. They're the angels of nature. They're the angels of Mother Earth. So, one day my son Thaddeus, I was putting him down for bed and he said, "Mommy, tell me a story." And I said, "Well, what book do you want me to read?" He said, "No, I want you to make up a story." So I just started telling him the story off the top of my head, and it was about a fairy family that lives in our backyard, and it was about a fairy named Thaddeus that got lost, and he communicates with the animals in the yard to help him find his way home. And that inspired me to write the Backyard Fairies series. So they're inspired by my children and also all the magic in my yard. I mean, I live in the city, and you wouldn't believe how much magic and how much I have brought nature into our yard. You wouldn't believe the animals we see, deer crossing the street. We're really connected with our yard, and I really want to teach kids and adults that if you connect with your yard, especially if you don't wear shoes, at least a few times a week outside, not to wear your shoes. If you pay attention to the so-called weeds that pop up, Mother Earth will help send you what you need. So if you notice new weeds in your yard, that's actually something 99% of the time I need. Not that I'm going to pick that and use it because I live in the city and it's not so clean, but it's a way to communicate with Mother Earth and your body to find out what your body needs. So I learned a lot in that series because I worked with the fairies, and a lot of my stories were channeled from the fairies in my yard.
That is just so cool, Kate. Now, for somebody who's out there wanting to work with fairies, where do you even start?
I always recommend Doreen Virtue's Fairies 101. Now, I know that is kind of like, people are like, I don't really know if I want to read her books. But that's the best that I've found, because it's simple and it's love and it's joy and there's nothing negative and dark. So I would recommend Fairies 101 by Doreen Virtue. There's a couple of them, Healing with the Fairies, but also I've read Ted Andrews. What is it? Enchantment of the Fairy Realm. That is the other book that I love. I would recommend those books. And that's basically all you need. It's not difficult. It's easy, and it's so much fun because when you start communicating with them, you'll immediately start to see signs, and they are master manifestors. So if you want something and you really want to manifest something, interacting with your yard, your fairies, feeding the birds, you will be given inspiration. This was a long time ago, I really wanted to manifest something. I don't remember what it was. And I said, and I really want to feed the birds, but I can't really afford to get a bird feeder and all the stuff. And I'm not joking. 30 minutes later, money deposited in my account, way more than I needed. We didn't know where it came from. It was unexpected. We knew where it came from, but we were not expecting it. So, of course, I bought everything to get started, to feed the animals and little fairy figurines. And that's where it started really here, where I live now. It's so just basically communicating, standing outside, and you don't have to speak aloud, but I really want to communicate with you. Can you give me an assignment? And an assignment is usually a nudge to pick up trash, switch to like eco-friendly products, or just to feed the birds. That's not, and doing things with not expecting to get anything in return. I love to feed the animals. I feed my squirrels. And everything that you do, and the fairies actually taught me this as a lesson with children as well and your loved ones. Did you know that everything you do for your children, a loved one, that is good karma for you, that you're going to manifest more and more. And you're like, wow, I already do that anyways. That's easy. By being a good parent, by being a good friend, you're automatically just opening your heart to accept in all aspects of your life, abundance.
Yes, girl. Preach.
Yeah. Sorry, I could go on and on.
No, I love it because I just love your perspective. Like, I'm just everything about the angels, the fairies, the lightheartedness. I mean, you have this beautiful like fairy magic soul.
Yeah, I definitely feel that fairy soul. My daughter too. All of my kids, but my daughter's very much so.
Yeah, that childlike wonder of learning continuously, which is something that, you said that we all need to be doing, is just continuously learning. I feel like when you think that you've learned it all, that's when you should start from the beginning.
Exactly. And I've done that before. If I feel stuck, I do go back to the beginning. I'll go listen to old readings I did. I'll read my own book to be like, where was I at? I need to get back in that mindset. And that's a great way to switch your perspective as well. Go back and read old journal entries. It's a really good way to.
Now,
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Did you do self-publishing, or did you?
I did. Yes. Yep.
You did. Do you recommend that more than anything? I know that's kind of like the craze right now is.
It is. I absolutely recommend it, because not that publishing with a publishing company is not good. I wish that I could have done that. But I learned so much because it's free starting. Obviously you have to do all your own marketing and stuff, but I learned so much in the process. I've helped others publish books because I did it myself. And, it really, when you have a passion, you figure it out. And I was determined, because it was really expensive for me to published through a publishing company. I'm like, well, I don't want to wait, because it's also a process. I'm like,
It's a
well, no,
process.
I'm impatient too. I'll admit. So it was also because I was impatient and I wanted it published when it was done.
Yeah. So your podcast, can you get that streamed anywhere, or are you on just certain channels?
I'm basically everywhere. I have everything on YouTube. On my website, you can listen to my podcast, KateWhitneyOfficial.com. We're on Spotify, iTunes, and iHeartRadio.
Love, love, love. Well, one of the things that you do on your podcast with Mindful Magic is y'all close it with a reading. And
Yes.
I would love to hear what you got for me, sister.
Yes. So I never give a reading. I never tune into anyone's energy without permission. But when I was preparing and doing my meditation before we got on, I started to get messages for you. I'm like, well, I guess this means that she's open, which I know you are. I've done a reading for you before, but it just started flowing. So again, I heard the book. There is part of you. You're such a creative person, but there's a part of your soul that yearns to be expressed through a book. So that was really, really clear that there's something, even if you write, I love this, you write 1 page a day, you have a 365 page book in a year. So that was easy. That was motivation for me when I wrote. So the book was really big. And again, this doesn't mean you have to write it all in one day, but your angels want you to start planning for that.
Okay.
Also, I was picking up, your dog is trying to tell you that he needs something. There's something that he's been acting different, or he's trying to get your attention, or he's been off. There's something going on there that he's trying to communicate with you. And you also have that ability. I don't know if I mentioned that in your reading before, and I know that you channel, but you can also channel your pets as well. He's trying to not only tell you what he needs, but he wants to help you develop that ability. Our pets are really in tune, and they know what they need, obviously, and they also know what you need. So that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to communicate with you.
Well, let me tell you before you do anything else. We call her my fairy dog because she is like, I'll have to send you a picture. She is like otherworldly and completely different. She either thinks she's a human or a fairy, or she was. You know what I mean? So I hear you, Cookie. I will work on that. I will definitely work on that. So thank you for getting that message across, because I'm pretty sure I know exactly what that is. So thank you.
And you know what's interesting? You say fairy. All animals have fairy guides.
Oh.
So you might be communicating with her fairy guides as well, which is a really good way to communicate with them. That helps boost that connection. But I also picked up that organization for you. It's not like just organizing your house. And I don't know what this means, but it's hard to sometimes put to words because I get a lot of messages with emotion. So it was organization, but it's the way that you see things. It's different than the way other people, things go in certain, let me try to say this. Seeing where things go in a way that others don't. And I feel like maybe you put things somewhere and your husband or someone's like, why are you doing that? Why'd you put that there? But the way that you see things is different than other people. And I don't know if that must be something that's going to lead you somewhere, or maybe embracing your uniqueness and the way that you view the world, and even the way that you set things around your house. I feel like your higher self is telling you to put things on, maybe feng shui. I'm not really sure. So that was really, really interesting. I'm not sure, like I said, what that means for you. But, and then I also picked up on auntie vibes, a woman that was either your aunt or someone that was like your aunt that's deceased. And she is very much with you. And she's trying to, first of all, she's like, I just see her kind of following you around and looking over your shoulder, seeing what you're doing, and just very curious of what you're doing. And then also she's sending me flowers. Like she wants you to work with flowers for healing, but also flowers are connected to her energy somehow. Maybe it was gardening, or she loved flowers, or she sends you flowers. So I was getting that for her.
All right. So that's Bonnie. She was my crone. She passed 2 years ago this week.
Oh.
And the day that she passed, I was channeled to help her cross over with some flowers during
Oh.
during my ritual. She had asked me to help release her. And I channeled that, and within 2 minutes, she was released.
Oh.
So thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I'm also getting the color yellow. I also work with color a lot with angels send colors. Colors are such an easy way to communicate with angels because colors have different meanings and different they all have their own vibration. So also I could talk about colors for an hour, but for you, I'm getting the color yellow, and I don't know exactly what that means. Maybe solar plexus. Oh, creativity. That makes sense. Self-expression. She wants to help you with that book, with your book.
Yes, which is funny because I had a message come through from her about 2 weeks ago that she had an herbal. You're going to get a kick out of this because her brother, I think, wrote herbal books for Harvard. And it was something before she passed that she wanted to get to me and she wasn't able to. And so she has been really in my dreams lately, like trying to get me to find this book. So you had also brought up the whole flowers and herbal work. And that was something that I had started working on right before she passed because it was something she really wanted me to get in tune with. Hence the reason why I'm so into gardening and everything right now. So, wow. Thank you so much, Kate. That was beautiful.
You're welcome. And I'm so excited to see what you create. I know that it's going to be big because there's a lot of, not really urgency to do it now, but they want you to start, like you already are. You're already in that gardening. You're already into gardening, which means you're connecting with her. I feel like that's how she's going to work with you. It will help increase that connection.
Yeah. That's incredible. Thank you so much. I'm so excited for this book too. And you better believe that you've got to get back on with me because I would like to have you on talking about candle magic and the colors and creativity. I know you have your own podcast, so I definitely don't want to take away from that. But maybe for season 3, we'll have you back on and talk a little bit more. And hopefully by then I'll be actually starting because this book has been a thing for 7 years that like I was like you. I don't write, like I write shorthand. You know what I mean? I'm really good with speaking and being in front of people, but writing has always freaked me out so much. And yet I've been told for 7 years, write the book, write a book, write a book. So
that's how I felt too. That's exactly how I felt.
Jump in. And I think the podcast has actually kind of helped me because it's kind of helped me align where I kind of want the book to go, if that makes any sense. But
yeah, for sure.
But
because you're channeling when you speak.
Yes. Yeah, it's easier for me. You know what I mean? Like it's easier. So that has been my one thing. I'm going to have to like open up and do some free writing exercises. I think that's probably going to be the best thing for me to like just get used to that channeling through without having to like pick it apart. You know, luckily now we have AI. You can put it in there and it sounds a lot prettier.
Yeah. One thing that I did is whenever I wanted to write a book, I wrote the outline first. I wrote an outline and then I also started and I put the chapters down.
Yeah, that's kind of where I've started. And I'm on like chapter 3 and I'm trying to get out of my own head about it because and it's funny you said even a page a day because I've put like, that's kind of where I'm at right now because I don't want to lose that balance and I don't want to freak myself out at that, you know, like it's, put too much on it. So you have really hammered in all of the messages that I've been doing, but I guess I needed to make sure that I was on the right track.
Definitely. You are in all ways, your podcast, your family, your pets, you're good.
Well, thank you so much.
And I would love to see a picture of Cookie too.
Oh, I'm going to send it to you as soon as we get off here. And again, girl, I'm just so glad that we have connected and sharing your story and, you know, your book has made a difference in my life. So thank you again for getting on here with me. And I appreciate you so much, Kate.
Thank you so much. Anytime you want me back on, and I would love to have you on our podcast as well.
Ooh, that would be so much fun. All right, guys, I'm going to link down below everything that you can do to go follow her. And was that a link tree or is that just your website?
That's my website.
Okay, so I'll put that as well. So if you want to go do a reading, because as you heard, she is amazing. So, Kate, I'm just so happy. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, and I will talk to you soon.
I will talk to you soon. Thanks, guys, for listening to Get Enlightened with Lauren Scott.